We're back with another One Piece TCG Locals update. This time around, we played Gold D Roger, and he laughed, bro, because we got the dub skis, bro. It was the hardest font battle that I ever done in a locals for One Piece TCG, I would say, to date. It was not easy, bro. Game one was versus freaking Zoro, which is pretty much the worst matchup I could have. And that's post promo. Even after post promo, Zoro is still probably the hardest matchup I could have, out of the big three right now. And there's no problem right now. And so I barely took it, bro. Barely took it. They made a couple of misplays that cost them. I had the 9 drop Newgate on board. They had 2 Kyoshuros and Law that was able to be a blocker. Now they forgot that I have the 9 cost, the Newgate's effect that's going to pop up Kyosho, and the fact that they went down to a 0 life. Now the thing is, that was just a misplay in general in this meta, because you got to consider Roger at all points in time throughout, no matter what you're facing against. You got to consider Roger. I didn't, out of all 3 of my games, didn't see a single Roger. I'm only playing 2, yeah, but I didn't see a single Roger. I was like, all right, buddy, guess I'm just gonna lose, dude. But I barely pulled that through, bro. I was like, oh my god, I was at down to 1 life. There was so many different interactions. Like, I don't particularly like this meta in general, because I don't like when it's just like a couple of decks that are meta. I like the widespread open meta, but I could see for a competitive standpoint that this one's probably a really interesting meta for people, because I had to think, bro. I had to actually think during my games, bro. I'm a Unga Boonga Instincts player. I hope for the best type of person. But yeah, game 2 was against Charlotte Pudding, that Charlotte Pudding play that you've seen me talk about throughout various videos. That was a really tough match. I didn't have an easy game throughout these entire 3 series. It's because when I ramp, they're basically ramping as well. They had the 2 drop Katakuri that can cheat out Ecos Katakuri depending on how much Don that I have. So if I ramp fast, then they could just cheat it out even faster. So they were at like 5 Don or something, and they were able to cheat out the 8 drop Katakuri, because this is the fastest ramp that I had, so I was able to get to 8 Don really quickly. But they basically got to cheat it out, and they maybe if they swung a certain way, they could have done it, but the Shanks math that minusing 1k to their entire board was messing them up, so they kind of made some slight errors and stuff like that. I went through 3. I used 2 buggies and 1 Shanks to do 5ks, and they had 3 life, Big Mom, and a blocker, and I still was able to get it. And the last game was against Ace. It got down to literally 1k difference. They red rocked my 10 cost Shanks. I luckily had 2. I had 3 bricks of Rayleigh in my hand. I barely pulled it through. I was feeling like I was behind the entire time. I had 2 life still, and I was looking for my Roger, but I just couldn't. The fact that they thought I could possibly have the Roger made it so it was really awkward for them. But that was my locals update for today.